All right, thank you everyone for your patience. Today we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Ann Schaefer. I am the Senior Customer Success Specialist here at MarketSight. Today we'll be taking a look at the new features that were recently released with MarketSight 10.9, our latest version. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that my screen is showing so that everyone can see these new features, and we're going to go ahead and move on. Now our next slide here is going to summarize some of the top new features that we're going to take a look at, namely the improved filter panels. The filter panels were completely redesigned in 10.9, and they include additional types such as sliders and selectors for dates. So those are new features and new capabilities. In terms of charts, the updates include a new chart wizard that allows you to make charts without making the crosstab for it first. And then we've also added formatting options for several different chart types. For dashboards, it's now much easier to create on-the-fly global filters simply by dragging and dropping variables, and you're now able to add video as well as URLs or links to outside websites. Crosstabs now export to PowerPoint, and you can even tag open-end variables for use in analysis. So definitely a new feature there. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look now at MarketSight. One of the new features that perhaps is not as impressive, shall we say, but it's definitely still very useful. On the datasets page, we now support the dimensions dataset format. Underneath new dataset, the procedure to upload a dataset remains the same, but this is simply a new format that you are able to upload and MarketSight will support. Heading now to the Crosstabs page. Crosstabs have seen a couple of changes within the MarketSight application. If I go ahead and I open up the edit dialog here, one of the first changes that I want to point out is underneath the options dialog here in my row variables. If I click on my options and I select calculations, I now have the option to choose standard error. This was not available earlier, so it's definitely something to keep an eye out for when you are looking at your calculations dialog. Again, I can always apply this to other row variables while I'm in this particular screen, and when I click OK, that change will be applied to my design. Another major change that has taken place in Crosstabs is specifically available underneath the sort options here. If I click on the sort option, I can see then that my typical sort is available. So, for example, let me sort values within the variables based on the total on column %. Now, when I sort, I have the option to show only the top or bottom number of values that I specify. So if I choose to show the top 3, for example, and click Sort again, I will see that I'm now limited to viewing just the top 3 responses for each of these variables. Similarly, I'm also able to show values that are only above or below a set threshold. Another final change that has taken place with the crosstabs is that the crosstabs are able to be exported directly to PowerPoint. If you click on the Export dialog, you will now see PowerPoint as an option in the dropdown. Furthermore, if I deselect this choice to use the MarketSight formatting here, MarketSight will take into account the custom template that I select here in the second dropdown. In this case, I should no longer have a gray background to my table when I export to PowerPoint, but I should get a green one instead. I'll go ahead and begin that export now. As always, that export will appear in my tasks list, and I'll be able to download that file. And now that that's opening, we'll be able to see the tables that we've exported. So as you can see, MarketSight has placed one row per each slide, and that I now have that green background rather than the gray that I had previously. All right, so going directly to PowerPoint, no more copy pasting from Excel. Definitely a useful thing with these crosstabs. I'm going to go ahead and save my crosstab here and now move on to the chart so you can see some of the changes that we've made to the charting area. First and foremost, you'll notice that here on the charts page, there's a set of buttons for different available chart types, as well as arrows for additional options underneath each. This is the beginning of the chart wizard, as we like to call it. If you are looking to make a single chart on the fly or very quickly, this is a great approach. If I click on pie, for example, MarketSight will walk me through the process of creating a quick pie chart. I simply need to select my variable and drag it over, and I can then move through the dialog as I wish, adding variables here and there. And then finally, MarketSight will create both the underlying crosstabs and take me directly to that chart. Now that that chart has loaded, you can see that it's actually pulling from my custom PowerPoint template as well. So my settings, my colors, are all being pulled from my template so that I still have my consistent output. Again, when looking to just create a single chart on the fly, the chart wizard is a great method. If you're looking to have additional control over what's shown in your chart, you may still consider creating the crosstab and then the chart. The crosstab will provide you with the fine control that you're looking for. Now, we've also added different formatting options for different chart types. So, for example, I will head to my scatter plot chart here. This scatter plot, which are made by using either the chart wizard or by using a Dataview, looks essentially like it has since scatter plots were added. However, if I hit the edit dialog here, I'll see that I now have additional attributes or formatting options that I can apply to this chart. For example, if I select varied opacity, I can go ahead and choose then the variable that I want to base that opacity on. If I select household income, for example, I'm going to see that lighter colors are going to be those with less income, where darker colors are going to be those with either the most or, in this case, the don't know values. I can also choose to change the color itself, so I do not have to stick with black. I can say change to blue or any other color that I prefer. In addition, I can change the type of view shape, and I can also set the size of the shape. So perhaps I might choose household size. Larger households will now have larger triangles. Finally, I can change the shape itself. So I'm no longer limited to just the triangle. I can choose any number of shapes, and again, I can also base those on a variable. So many different formatting options have been added for different chart types. Definitely worth taking a look at when you get an option, or a moment, I should say, to do so. All right. So let's take a look then at some of the dashboard changes that we've recently added. I'm going to go ahead and load the dashboard that I previously built. This dashboard has a lot of things that have changed that are shown in it. One of the first things that you will notice in this particular dashboard is that there is in fact a video embedded directly into this dashboard. This is a new feature with MarketSight 10.9. You are able to embed MP4 videos directly into the dashboard so that colleagues or clients or anyone who views this dashboard is then able to play this video. To do so, you would simply make sure that you're in your edit dialog, and then underneath new, or I should say add item, there's an add video option here. I'll also have an option here to add URL, another new feature to MarketSight 10.9. This will allow me to take clients directly to a site of my specification. Finally, this is a great place to look at the new interactive filters in greater detail. You saw these briefly when you visited the Crosstabs, but they're also available in charts and especially on dashboards. In the case of the dashboard level filter, if I go to the Interactivity tab, I'll see that I have a number of options directly in the dashboard for designing the look and feel of this filter. In this particular case, I can see that my current filter position is on the left, but I can alter that position as my design requires. I can also change the theme. I can select different colors to better match my design, and I can choose whether or not the filter panel itself is expanded and whether or not the variables that I include in it are expanded as well. Adding and removing variables is very simple. I simply click and drag, and that will remove items or add them. In addition, you can see the new filter types located here. So, for example, since this is a date variable, I now have a date selector that I can use to select a different date. Continuous numeric variables will have a slider by default that allows me to select different data. Finally, I can also change the type of filter that's in use. So, for example, a checkbox situation like this would allow a user to select either any or all of these checkboxes. I could say change that to radio buttons so that they're able to select one income bracket or all, but certainly not multiple groups at once. So definitely much easier to create much more dynamic filtering than in previous versions of the application. All right, let's take a look now at the data views, and specifically at tagging in data views. Data views have been used for many things, including editing data. In 10.8, you are able to create word clouds, and in fact, you can now create word clouds on any variable, regardless of whether it's an opened text variable or a numeric variable. You can also use data views now to actually tag these variables with particular keywords. So in order to do so, say for example, I'm going to go ahead and click on this particular record. I simply click on any record to open it. I can select from pre-existing features or keywords that I've selected, and then I can also go ahead and add any new ones simply by typing them here in this box and clicking on Add. When I select or add new keywords and I save my selection, MarketSight is actually creating new variables for me. We can see that if we head back to the variables page here and take a look at page 2. Right about here, down to about here in my variables list, I can see that MarketSight has created a number of single select variables here, and then it has placed all of those variables into an open-ended satisfaction MRV here. In effect, I am numerically analyzing this variable, and this MRV can be placed into crosstabs and used for further analysis. So by simply tagging my records, I wind up with something that I can then analyze. All right. So those were the major updates in MarketSight 10.9. Again, many different changes in different areas across the application. Let's take a moment to check to see if we have any questions about the different new features in the application. Just one moment here. And of course, you can always send questions into us via the chat box here, but if you come up with particular questions that are specific to a project or questions that perhaps come up later in mind, simply reach out to us at customer service and we'll be more than happy to help. All right, I do see a question here. This one concerns the adding video in Dashboard. You can add MP4 videos currently from uploading them from, say, your computer. We are working on adding additional capabilities to make it possible to host videos from other platforms such as YouTube or Vimeo. All right, taking a look now. Yes, with the Crosstab export, that default selection is going to give you the MarketSight formatting. So just as a quick refresher, let me head back to that particular dashboard, or I should say Crosstab export. So if I hit the export button, the checkbox that you are referring to appears when you select PowerPoint, and it is this checkbox right here to use MarketSight formatting that will get you that gray formatting that you typically see. If you're looking to have the custom formatting from your template, simply deselect this checkbox and make sure that you have selected the correct template here in that second drop-down. You should then get the custom color pulled from your template. All right, and then the last question is regarding the Dataview tagging. If you do not see the Dataview tagging in your account, this may be because of your account type. It may also not be turned on for your account. So do reach out to us at customer service and we'll be able to determine what the case is for you. Finally, you can, of course, tag with multiple keywords. So it's not limited to a single keyword. As many as you would like to add, you can apply. Okay. Looks like the remainder of our questions are specific to particular clients or projects, so we'll go ahead and follow up with those via email after the call here today. We thank you for your time and your interest in our new features here in MarketSight 10.9. And again, thank you for attending. Have a wonderful day.